You don't get convinced to help prisoners because you received a sales pitch. You get convinced to help prisoners because God touched your heart to have empathy on your brothers and sisters who are being railroaded and lives are being destroyed, and you just have a conscience to try to do something about it. You know.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of scriptures that, you know, one is about the talents. You know, the guy gave a certain quantity of money to one, and he just went and hid it and sat on, did nothing to it, and the other went and invested it and put it to work and was able to multiply it. And the people have, you know, life skills, they have time, they have resources and stuff that they could invest in helping other people that would help those people to help other people. You know, I spoke to my mom briefly, and I mentioned the fact that yesterday there was a wasp. Somehow got in the building. Don't know how, but it's sitting here dying on the walkway on the concrete floor because it's 50 degrees in here, and it's dying. And so when I got out for my 2 minutes to go get a sandwich at 4 o'clock, 2 pieces of bread and a paper-thin slice of bologna, I scooped him up and took him in the room, and I put him in the little 2-inch slit window where he could sit there in the afternoon sun from the west, goes through the window for 30 minutes each day. And he warmed himself up, and when he was able to, he realized there's out. He saw the outside, and he sat there and banged up against it repeatedly, nonstop, trying to get out of the room. And I sat there looking out my door flap for about 10 minutes, and I turned around and I noticed the little wasp is sitting there now on my legal documents, sitting there now looking at me. It's like, okay, dude, what next?
Yeah.
I can't get out this way. What are you going to do? So I went and talked to the guy that was doing the sandwiches. I said, are you a man of more focused on preserving life or taking life? He says, well, it depends on the life and the circumstances. I said, oh, okay, never mind. Then there was another guy, shift change at 6 o'clock. I said, you know, this is a guy that's into helping people. I think he's into medicine. He's fixing to leave here. I said, let me ask you a question. Are you more into preserving life or taking life? He said, well, preserving life. You ought to know that. And I said, I figure so. I said, here's the deal. There's a wasp that somehow got in this building that's trying to find his way out. I've got it in this little container for lunch. Do you have the ability to maybe walk him out the door and release him? Let him go free. He said, yeah. I gave him the tray. He took it, carefully held onto it, didn't shake it or turn it upside down or nothing. I was very careful with it. And when he left, he went out towards the booking area, which is right there by the back door. And when he came back 30 minutes to an hour later, he said that he, you know, took him and let him go, and he jumped out of the container and shook the food particles off his feet and flew away. And he looked like he was a happy camper. I said, God bless you. Thank you. I mentioned that to my mom, and then I said, do you remember in 2005 or 6 when I ran for office, just before then, before I ran for office, there was a tree behind your house, a 100-foot tall tree, and about 80 foot up was a cat that had been there for 6 or 7 days that nobody seemed to care about. And when I came by and visited, you mentioned it to me, and I went out there and climbed the tree, got halfway up before I realized I can't go any further because I don't have a harness, and if I fall and break my neck, that's not going to help my wife or my family. So I called animal control. They said they wouldn't do anything, refused. And then I thought, well, who can climb a tree? And then I thought, well, let me think about the volunteer fire department. I called them. They came out, and the guy knew how to climb a tree, had a harness. He was in the tree trimming business. He climbed the tree, got the cat down. I wrote a story about it, and it was published in the local and the Memphis newspaper, Saving Easter Kitty, because this was right before Easter. And the cat was saved and given to a neighborhood boy who wanted a pet, and everything worked out. Think of all the people that saw that cat for days, sitting up there with no water, no food, did nothing. Some people might say, well, I'll pray for it. Well, I wish him well. God bless him. Stupid cat, it's his own fault. He shouldn't have gone up there. Well, regardless of the neighborhood pit bulls chasing him around, he did what he had to do to survive. If not for me getting up and doing something, the cat would have died in the tree. There are people dying in prison because people that can do things won't. And I don't see that this is a Christian nation. their fellow man will sit back and watch their fellow man die in prison who've done nothing to anybody.